Every major headline you see today about escalating conflict in the Persian Gulf did not begin in recent months or even recent years. The roots of modern Iranian defense doctrine, covert proxy networks, and deep hostility toward Western intervention stretch back through a turbulent century of foreign interference, covert regime change, and high-stakes struggles over natural resources. To truly understand why the region stands on the brink today, we have to look past the surface rhetoric and examine the pivotal historical turning points that shaped modern Iran throughout the 20th century. The story begins in 1901, when a British speculator named William Knox D'Arcy negotiated an exclusive 60-year concession from the Persian monarchy to explore and extract petroleum across vast swaths of the country. When oil gushed in massive volumes at Masjid Soliman in 1908, it marked the first major petroleum strike in the Middle East. That discovery transformed the British Empire's military doctrine. The Royal Navy, under Winston Churchill, made the strategic decision to convert its entire fleet from coal to oil, relying directly on Iranian crude through what became the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. While vast fortunes flowed to London and fueled Allied victory across two world wars, ordinary Iranians saw little economic return, fueling decades of deep resentment over sovereign control of their own soil. By 1951, the demand for self-determination boiled over. The Iranian parliament overwhelmingly elected Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh, an ardent nationalist reformer, who immediately led the legislative drive to nationalize the British-controlled oil infrastructure. Britain retaliated with crippling economic sanctions and a worldwide naval blockade of Iranian crude exports. When domestic pressure mounted, Western intelligence agencies intervened directly. In August 1953, the CIA and Britain's MI6 executed Operation Ajax, a covert regime change operation orchestrated on the ground by Kermit Roosevelt Jr. Through paid street mobs, orchestrated unrest, planted propaganda, and compromised military officers, Mossadegh's government was overthrown. The young Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who had briefly fled the country, was restored to absolute power. For the West, it secured Cold War oil flows and an anti-communist ally. For the Iranian populace, it permanently destroyed faith in Western democratic promises. For the next 26 years, the Shah governed as an absolute monarch, heavily backed by American weaponry, diplomatic shielding, and financial capital. He launched the White Revolution, a sweeping modernization program that brought Western culture, industrial infrastructure, and secular education to urban centers. But that modernization was enforced by SAVAK, the Shah's notorious internal security and intelligence service, known for brutal surveillance, censorship, and political imprisonment. Because secular dissidents, intellectuals, and labor unions were systematically suppressed, the only network capable of operating outside royal control was the religious establishment anchored in the mosques. By late 1978, mass strikes paralyzed the economy and millions flooded the streets. In January 1979, the Shah fled into exile. Weeks later, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini returned from exile in France to establish the Islamic Republic, transforming Iran overnight from Washington's closest regional ally into its fiercest geopolitical adversary. In September 1980, seeking to exploit Iran's revolutionary chaos, Saddam Hussein's Iraqi forces launched a massive cross-border invasion. What followed was the Iran-Iraq War. 8 years of brutal trench warfare, ballistic missile strikes on cities, and extensive chemical weapons attacks that claimed an estimated 1 million casualties. Foreign powers, including the United States and regional Arab monarchies, heavily funded and armed Baghdad to contain the revolutionary threat. Isolated from international weapons markets, Iranian commanders learned a lasting strategic lesson. Iran could not rely on international norms or win a conventional war against a superior military coalition. Out of this bloody crucible came the core pillars of modern Iranian doctrine: the development of domestic long-range ballistic missiles, asymmetric naval capabilities in the Persian Gulf, and the formation of a deep network of regional proxy forces across Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, designed to project deterrent power far beyond its borders. When we look at today's naval standoffs, drone strikes, and covert operations, they are not isolated crises. They are the direct legacy of a continuous 100-year continuum. From colonial oil concessions and covert regime change to regional proxy warfare. Understanding this history doesn't mean justifying any regime's actions. It means seeing the structural realities and calculated deterrent strategies driving the decisions. History teaches us that actions taken for short-term geopolitical dominance inevitably produce long-term unintended consequences. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Papa's History class. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit the like button, subscribe for our next deep dive, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below.